At this point, I would say that Canelo Alvarez has a type. And no, I'm not talking about dating, I'm talking about opponents. Canelo has a type as far as opponents these days. They need to be young, strong, determined, but not as polished as he is. So they need to be entertaining and vulnerable. They need to bring it, they need to be able to take punches, they need to be somebody that he can technically outpoint. So he wants them to be aggressive so that it's an entertaining fight, so that it's enjoyable for the fans. However, I would say he knows what he's doing. He and his team know what they're doing. So case in point, Jaime Munguia, strong, determined. He was huge in the ring. Big guy, you knew he would bring it. You knew he wasn't going to sit back and try to outbox Canelo. He wasn't going to make Canelo have to come find him. That is tailor-made for Canelo Alvarez. It always was. However, even as Canelo is not quite what he once was, still an excellent fighter, but maybe not at his peak of 2018 to say 2021, it definitely suits Canelo. It's like, you're going to bring it, I'm going to pick you apart. I know you have to come after me, so Canelo knows what they have to do, and he knows how to handle what they're doing. Same thing with Edgar Berlanga. Big, strong puncher. I knew he would be determined, and he was. However, he's just not functioning. He's not to that technical level. He may never be to Canelo's technical level. So with that in mind, that's why I say Canelo has a type. Now, to close, I will tell you why David Benavidez is not that type, because some people might argue that David Benavidez fits that mold. But if you watch closely and if you tune out the critics who just repeat what they hear, David Benavidez has more technical ability. He's more polished than a Jaime Munguia or an Edgar Berlanga. First of all, Jaime Munguia has this bad habit of throwing hooks from outside from his hips. To generate power, Munguia throws from his hips. Whereas David Benavidez, say what you want about his defense, but given how offensive he is, he has good defense. He has his hands up, he's always ready to punch. He has a long jab also, and he's shown some nuance where he'll duck some shots, and he's also able to handle movers. People say that David Benavidez doesn't have any footwork, and I'll be honest, when I first saw him, I said, surely this guy will be vulnerable. Somebody's going to beat him. But he takes punches well, he's durable, he'll land a big shot, especially to his body, and he'll wave you in and smile, and he just punishes you. David Benavidez closes in on you. So movers haven't had success. Love Caleb Plant. I like Demetrius Andrade. They weren't able to keep him away. They weren't able to, even though they have superior footwork. Both have great footwork, but David Benavidez was able to close the distance. Not even really sure how he does it, but he was able to close the distance. So Canelo would have to box, and he would have to move more than he would like to. He would probably have to be the mover. He'd have to create distance, whereas somebody like Jaime Munguia or Edgar Berlanga, they're easier to figure out. They're right there in a straight line. They knew they had to fight harder because Canelo was going to be the one fighting smarter. But David Benavidez has some polish. He has some nuance. So that's a tough matchup. And he has volume. And he's young and strong and determined. And I know that critics will bring up Gradovich, but Gradovich, he got into amazing shape. He is a really durable guy. I mean, this guy, he was pretty much chiseled out of stone. He trained his butt off, and he would be a tough out for anybody. That version of Gradovich, retirement aside, layoff aside, that guy who showed up would be a tough matchup for anybody. But be that as it may, I'm curious to see how Benavidez does against David Morrell. Morrell is another example to a lesser degree where he doesn't really fit the mold of who Canelo would want to fight right now because he's physically gifted. I don't believe that Morrell is as polished as Benavidez, but I would favor Morrell to beat Munguia or Edgar Berlanga. He has physical gifts, and he doesn't necessarily close in on you, but he's just dynamic. You know, if Canelo has to outthink him, if he were to have to outthink Morrell, he would also have to deal with that athleticism. He's just a really dynamic guy. But be that as it may, my overall point is Canelo has a type, and I'm talking about as far as opponents. He wants them young, strong, determined, guys who will fight harder and not smarter, and guys that he can diffuse, he can figure out. Canelo wants to have the IQ edge at this point in his career.